Hello and welcome to this Beyond Shakespeare exploring session. Today we will be exploring The Woman's Prize, or The Tamer Tamed, by John Fletcher, written between 1604 and 1610. Interestingly, one of the source plays for this, The Taming of a Shrew, was reprinted in 1607, so it may be as much of an answer to that. In order to read this play, we have assembled a marvelous team of readers, and as the prologue, as Petruchio's wife Maria, we have
Alan in Suffolk.
Yes, and as Moroso, an elderly suitor, and Pedro, a witty servant, we have...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I thought this was the Beyond Shakespeare experience, which is not a thing, apparently. I mean, we can make it a thing, apparently. Yeah, anyway, I'll shut up now.
Well, I'm experiencing it right now. As Tranio, Livia, and Petronius, we have...
Hello, my name is Lynn Freitas. I am guilty of technical problems, but we're going to power through it. I'm coming to you here from the Northwestern United States.
Excellent. And as Sophocles and Byancha, we have...
Aliki Chapple, actor and translator, coming to you from Northwestern England.
As Jaques and Roland, we have...
Alexandra, I am all up for making the Beyond Shakespeare experience a thing.
As Petruchio, once a tamer, now tamed, we have...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm based in Romford.
Marvelous. And I am your host, Liza Graham, for Sins Committed in a Past Life. If you want to listen to the source, one of the potential source plays for this, The Taming of a Shrew, it is available, as with many other plays, on our YouTube channel. And now we open not in Venice, but we open in London. Everyone's Italian, but we're in London. That's okay. There were lots of Italians in London at this time. And we have a prologue to tell you all about it. Take it away, prologue.
Ladies, to you, in whose defence and right Fletcher's brave muse prepared herself to fight. A battle without blood. 'Twas well fought too. The victory's yours, though got with much ado. We do present this comedy, in which a rivulet of pure wit flows, strong and rich, in fancy language, and all parts that may add grace and ornament to a merry play, which this may prove, yet not to go too far, in promises from this our female war. We do entreat the angry men would not expect the mazes of a subtle plot, set speeches, high expressions, and what's worse, in a true comedy, politic discourse. The end we aim at is to make you sport, yet neither gall the city nor the court. Hear and observe this comic train, and when ye are sick of melancholy, see it again. 'Tis no dear physic, since 'twill quit the cost, or his intentions with our pains are lost.
Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Moroso, Sophocles, and Tranio, with Rosemary as from a wedding. Rosemary isn't a person, it's a herb.
God give them joy.
Amen.
Amen, say I too. The pudding's now in the proof. Alas, poor wench, though what a mine of patience must thou work ere thou knowest a good hour more.
'Tis too true, certain. Methinks her father has dealt harshly with her, exceedingly harshly, and not like a father, to match her with this dragon. I protest I pity the poor gentlewoman.
Methinks now he's not so terrible as people think him.
Oh, this old thief flatters out of mere devotion, to please the father for his second daughter.
But shall he have her?
Oh, yes, when I have Rome. And yet the father's for him.
I'll assure you, I hold him a good man.
Yes, sure, a wealthy. But whether a good woman's man is doubtful.
Would 'twere no worse.
What though his other wife out of her most abundant soberness, out of her daily hue and cries upon him, for sure she was a rebel, turned his temper and forced him blow as high as she. Dost follow, we must retain that long since buried tempest to this soft maid.
I fear it.
So do I too, and so far that if God hath made me woman and his wife that must be.
What would you do, sir?
I would learn to eat coals with an angry cat and spit fire at him. I would, to prevent him, do all the ramping, rowing tricks a whore, being drunk and tumbling ripe, would tremble at. There's no safety else nor moral wisdom to be a wife of his.
So I should think too.
Yet the bare remembrance of his first wife, I tell you on my knowledge and the truth too, will make him start in his sleep and very often cry out for cudgels, coal stays, anything, hiding his breeches out of fear her ghost should walk and wear him yet. Since his first marriage, he is no more the still Petruchio than I am Babylon.
He's a good fellow, and on my word I love him, but to think a fit match for this tender soul
Is very frown. If she but say her prayers louder than men talk reason, makes him tinder. The motion of a dial when he's testy is the same trouble to him as a waterwork. She must do nothing for herself, not eat, drink, say, sir, how do ye? Make her ready, unready, unless he bid her.
he will bury her, £10 to 20 shillings, within these 3 weeks.
I'll be your half.
Enter Jaques with a pot of wine.
He loves her most extremely, and so long 'twill be honeymoon. Ow, Jack, you are a busy man, I'm sure.
Yeah, so busy I lost my script. Yes, certain. This old sport must have eggs.
But yet this 10 days.
Sweet gentleman, with muscadel.
Well, that's right, sir.
This fellow broods his master. Speed ye, Jack.
We shall be for you presently.
Your worship shall have it rich and neat, and to my conscience as welcome as Our Lady Day. Oh, my old sir, when shall we see your worship run at ring, that our standing were worth money?
So, sir.
Upon my little business, and my little honesty, your mistress, if I have any speculation, must think this single thrumming of a fiddle without a bow, but even poor sport.
You're married?
Yeah, would I were wise, too. God bless your worship.
The fellow tells you true.
Exit Jaques.
When is the day, man? Come, you'll steal a marriage.
Hey, believe me, but when our father pleases, I'm ready, and all my friends will know it.
Why not now? One charge has served for both.
There's reason in it.
Called Roland.
Will ye walk? They'll think we're lost. Come, gentlemen.
You have wiped him ere now.
So will he never the wench, I hope.
I wish it.
Exeunt. And let's take a short break and talk. That scene was a lot. So what thought, Alan, you read the prologue. What thoughts do you have about the prologue, about our setup here?
It's an interesting setup. I'm not sure that it's doing much in the way of giving away the what's going to be happening. It seems to be a throat clearing. It's almost along the lines of, and please make sure your mobiles are turned to silent.
Or else
Right.
our badass female characters will come and kick your butt.
Well, that goes without saying.
So I quite like the prologue. It says things like, We do entreat the angry men would not expect the mazes of a subtle plot, set speeches, high expressions. In other words, this drama is not going to change your life, but it is going to entertain you. My
reasonable expectation.
Really stupid comedy is one of my favorite genres of anything, so I'm up for it. And now we have your classic scene one, where characters who aren't the protagonists talk about the protagonists. And they've come from a wedding, presumably Petruchio's to Maria. Sophocles seems to be delivering asides. I think people can't hear what Sophocles is saying. I think he's commenting on the action. Do you think that, Aliki? What do you make of him so far?
It certainly would help me make sense of some of the lines that didn't seem to add up, but I think sometimes the others can hear him. I'd have to go through it in more detail. It's a bit weird, isn't it, the comedy of it, because they're talking about oh well, Petruchio, his old wife gave him such a hard time. She's dead now, but he still has nightmares about her ghost, that he's going to be horrible to his new wife. Hope he doesn't kill her. Let's lay a bet on it.
Yeah, I mean, problematic. That. Lynn.
Oh yeah. I mean, what Aliki said that in our modern terms, Petruchio has some anger management problems. He responds in his inappropriate affect. That like little things make him go off. I mean, these days we would say, yeah, he needs some clinical help. But he was terrorized by his first wife. She literally wore the pants in the family, which is not really consistent with what we saw her do at the end of A Shrew. Women committed the first sin, and so men have to be our bosses.
Yes, and Petruchio seems not only to have anger management issues, but also control issues from Tranio's last speech, saying she must do nothing of herself, not eat, drink, say, sir, how do you? So the whole thing of she can't talk to other guys unless he bid her. So that's, I mean, perhaps a little bit more explicable in the context of the time, but in our time, hearing those lines, that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I if I can add to that, I think that's possibly one of the difficulties to consider in staging this, as indeed in staging A Shrew, that, the plays that address something that might very well have been a general kind of concern or consideration, of the period. We have now moved away from looking at the problem as a problem, and so the solution doesn't feel like a solution either, and the entire premise therefore is, there's a lot of just why would we want to watch a play about marital abuse, of either party, and so yeah, I think there's it's a short setup. It gives us, that other play you've seen, well, this is the counterpart to it, just come and have fun. But in terms of staging it nowadays, one, you would either have to put the two together, or you'd need some way of setting up the preamble so that you're not referencing to the audience a story they don't know. And also this other issue of setting it up very quickly without alienating the audience in an emotional sense.
Yes, absolutely. Aliki.
I just want to add that we've had something else set up, the second marriage plot, that Moroso apparently wants to marry the bride's sister.
Yes, he wants to marry Byancha, and everyone else on stage is saying, Lynn.
Livia. Byancha is the Petruchio's deceased wife's sister, but yes, the new little sister is Livia, evidently.
Thank you for setting me straight on that. Mariah's sister is Lydia, and everyone seems to be ribbing Moroso about when his marriage to her will take place. And Sophocles has mentioned someone called Rowland. I wonder who that is. We seem to be about to meet Roland in scene 2. Enter Roland and Livia. Take it away.
Now, Livia, if you'll go away tonight, if your affections be not made of words.
I love you, and you know how dearly, Roland. Is there none near us? My affections ever have been your servants. With what superstition I have ever sainted you.
Why, then take this way.
'Twill be a childish and a less prosperous course than his that knows not care. Why should we do our honest and our hearty love such wrong to overrun our fortunes?
Then you flatter.
Alas, you know I cannot.
Well, what hopes left else but flying to enjoy ye?
None so far, for let it be admitted, we have time and all things now in other expectation. My father's bent against us, but what ruin can such byway bring us? If your fears would let you look with my eyes, I would show you, and certain how our straying here would win us a course, though somewhat longer, yet far surer.
And then Moroso has you.
No such matter. For hold this certain, begging, stealing, whoring, selling, which is a sin unpardonable, of counterfeit cods, or musty English crocus, switches or stones for the toothache finds me. Then that drawn fox, Moroso.
But his money, if wealth may win you.
If a hog may be high priest among the Jews, his money, Roland. Oh, love, forgive me. What faith hast thou? What canst his money kiss me?
Yes.
Behind, laid upon a petticoat, or grasp me while I cry, oh, good thank you, oh, my troth. That makes me merry with thy fear, or lie with me. Or lie with me, as you may do. Alas, what fools you men are. His moldy money, half a dozen riders that cannot sit, but stamped fast in their saddles. No, Roland, no man shall make use of me. My beauty was born free, and free I'll give it to him that loves, not buys me. Yet you doubt me?
I cannot say I doubt you.
Go thy ways. Thou art the prettiest puling piece of passion. In faith, I will not fail thee.
I had rather.
Believe me, if I could carry it for both our goods.
But
What?
I would tell you.
I know all you can tell me, all's but this. You would have me and lie with me, is it so?
Yes.
Why, you shall. Will that content you? Go.
Oh, I am very loath to go.
Enter Byancha and Mariah.
Now, O my conscience, thou art an honest fellow. Here's my sister. Go, prithee, go. This kiss and credit me. Ere I am 3 nights older, I am for thee. You shall hear what I do. Farewell.
Farewell.
Exit Roland.
Alas, poor fool, how it looks. It would even hang itself, should I but cross it. For pure love to the matter, I must hatch it.
Nay, never look for merry hour, Mariah. If now you make it not, let not your blushes, your modesty and tenderness of spirit make you continual anvil to his anger. Believe me, since his first wife set him going, nothing can bind his rage. Take your own counsel. You shall not say that I persuaded you. But if you suffer him...
Stay, shall I do it?
Have you a stomach to't?
I never showed it.
'Twill show the rarer and the stronger in you, but do not say I urged you.
I'm perfect, like courteous to redeem my country. I've leaped into this gulf of marriage, and I'll do it. Farewell all poor thoughts, but spite and anger, till I have wrought a miracle. Now, cousin, I am no more the gentle, tame Maria. Mistake me not. I have a new soul in me, made of a north wind, nothing but tempest, and like a tempest shall it make all ruin, till I have run my will out.
Oh, this is brave now, if you continue it. But your own will lead you.
Adieu all tenderness, I dare continue. Maids that are made of fears and modest blushes, view me and love example.
Here's your sister.
Here is the brave old man's love.
That loves the young man.
Ay, and hold thee there, wench. What grief of hardest, when Paphos revels should rouse up old night to sweat against a cork, to lie and tell the clock alongs, to rise sport starved.
Dear sister, where have you been, you talk thus?
Why, at church, wench, where I'm tied to talk thus. I'm a wife now.
It seems so, and a modest.
You're an ass. When thou art married once, thy modesty will never buy thee pins.
Bless me.
From what?
From such a tame fool as our cousin Livia.
You are not mad?
Yes, wench, and so must you be, or none of our acquaintance. Mark me, Livia, or indeed fit for our sex. 'Tis bedtime. Pardon me, yellow hymen, that I mean thy offerings to protract, or to keep fasting my valiant bridegroom.
Whither will this woman?
You may perceive her end.
Or rather fear it.
Dare you be partner in it?
Leave it, Maria. I fear I have marked too much. For goodness, leave it. Divest you with obedient hands to bed.
To bed? No, Livia. There are comets hang prodigious over that yet. There's a fellow must yet, before I know that heat. Ne'er start, wench, be made a man, for yet he is a monster. Here must his head be, Livia.
Never hope it. 'Tis as easy with a sieve to scoop the ocean as to tame Petruchio.
Stay, Lucinda, hear me. Never unlock the treasure of my womb for humane fruit to make it capable, nor never with thy secret hand make brief a mother's labour to me. If I do, give way unto my married husband's will, or be a wife in anything but hopes, till I have made him easy as a child, tame as fear. He shall not win a smile or a pleased look from this austerity, though it would pull another jointure from him and make him every day another man. And when I kiss him, till I have my will, may I be barren of delights, know only what pleasures are in dreams and guesses.
A strange exordium.
All the several wrongs done by imperious husbands to their wives these 1,000 years and upwards strengthen thee. Thou hast a brave cause.
And I'll do it bravely, or may I nip my life out ever after.
In what part of the world got she this spirit? Yet pray, Maria, look before you truly, besides the obedience of a wife, which you will find a heavy imputation, which yet I cannot think you own. It shows so distance from your sweetness.
'Tis I swear.
Weigh but the person and the hopes you have to work this desperate cure.
The weakest subject would shame the end I aim at, disobedience. You talk too tamely. By the faith I have in mine own noble will, that childish woman that lives a prisoner to her husband's pleasure has lost her making and becomes a beast, created for his use, not fellowship.
His first wife said as much.
She was a fool and took a scurvy course. Let her be named amongst those that wish for things but dare not do 'em. I have a new dance for him.
Are you of this faith?
Yes, truly, and will die in't.
Why then, let's all wear breeches.
Now thou comest near the nature of a woman. Hang these tame-hearted asses, that no sooner see the lure out, and hear their husbands holler, but cry like kites upon them. The free haggard, which is that woman that hath wing and knows it, spirit and plume, will make 100 checks to show her freedom, sail in every air, and look out every pleasure, not regarding lure nor quarry, till a pitch command that what she desires, making her foundered keeper, be glad to fling out trains and golden ones to take her down again.
You are learned, sister, yet I say still, take heed.
A witty saying, I'll tell thee, Livia, that had this fellow tired as many wives as horses under him, with spurring of their patience, had he got a patent with an office to reclaim us, confirmed by Parliament, had he all the malice and subtlety of devils or of us, or anything that's worse than both?
Hey, boys, this is excellent.
Nor could be. Cast his wives new again, like bells to make 'em sound to his will, or had the fearful name of the first breaker of wild women, yet would I undertake this man thus single, and spite of all the freedom he has reached to, turn him and bend him as I list, and mould him into a babe again, that aged women, wanting both teeth and spleen, may master him.
Thou wilt be chronicled.
That's all I aim at.
I must confess, I do with all my heart hate an imperious husband, and in time might be so wrought upon.
Make him cuckold.
If he deserve it.
Then I'll leave ye, ladies.
Thou hast not so much noble anger in thee.
Go sleep. What we intend to do lies not for such starved souls as thou hast, Livia.
Good night. The bridegroom will be with you presently.
That's more than you know.
If ye work upon him as you have promised, ye may give example which no doubt will be followed.
So,
Good night. We'll trouble you no further.
if you intend no good, pray do no harm.
None, but pray for you.
Exit Livia.
Cheer, wench.
Now, Byancha, those wits we have, let's wind 'em to the height. My rest is up, wench, and I pull for that, will make me ever famous. They that lay foundations are half builders, all men say.
Enter Jaques.
My master, forsooth.
Oh, how does thy master? Prithee commend me to him.
How's this? My master stays, forsooth.
Why, let him stay. Who hinders him, forsooth?
The revel's ended now. To visit you.
I'm not sick.
I mean to see his chamber, forsooth.
Am I his groom? Where lay he last night, forsooth?
I' the low-matted parlour.
There lies his way by the long gallery.
I mean your chamber. You're very merry, mistress.
'Tis a good sign. I'm sound-hearted, Jack. But if you'll know where I lie, follow me. And what thou seest, deliver to thy master.
Do, gentle Jaques.
Exeunt all but Jaques.
There's a wind in that door. By Our Lady, we shall have foul weather then. I do not like the shuffling of these women. They are mad beasts when they knock their heads together. I have observed them all this day. Their whispers one in another's ear, their signs and pinches and breaking over into violent laughters, as if the end they purposed were their own. Call you this weddings? Sure, this is a knavery, a very trick, and dainty knavery, marvellously finely carried. That's the comfort. What would these women do in ways of honour that are such masters this way? Well, my sir has been as good at finding out these toys as any living. If he lose it now, at his own peril be it. I must follow.
Exit Jaques. And let's take a short pause for discussion. Wow, what a scene. I do quite love that we've had a scene, for much of this scene, we have a scene between three women. Some excellent girl talk and strategy planning. So what's interesting is that Byancha seems to give Mariah a prompt here at the beginning of the scene. Aliki, I wondered if you had thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Byancha is her instructor in rebellion, and her encourager. Oh, don't let me encourage you, but if you're going to do, but it's up to you, dear.
Well, I wondered if it was that sort of passive aggressive stuff, or if it's simply a more strategic, do this. Don't tell him I told you to do this, but do this. Lynn.
Yeah, that's, in any case, I really feel like Byancha is consistent with the little sister character from A Shrew, who all the men want her. She's so sweet. She's so obedient. She just loves her daddy. You know, she's the good girl. But she marries who she wants. And then when he says, come here, I want to talk to you, she's like, nah, I'm chatting. You want to talk to me, you come here. So, you know, that she's, you know, outwardly compliant, but then once she's married, she's like, yeah. So, you know, that's so consistent with like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm on board with your taming scheme, but like, don't tell anybody that I told you, because I got this act to maintain. It's just like that sort of duplicity of Byancha. I feel like is consistent with what we learned about her in the previous play.
Yes, Alexandra.
In following up on what Lynn is saying, I would like to point out that in the dramatis personae, Mariah, who is the person now married to Petruchio, is described as a chaste, witty lady, along with Livia, the two masculine daughters of Petronius, and Byancha is described as their cousin and commander-in-chief, which I thought was quite excellent. Yeah, it's interesting as well that, as you said, Liza, that you've basically got most of this scene is three women setting up a Lysistrata ploy, which is quite to have three women speak on stage at the same time to each other in agreement. What? Revolutionary. And I just wanted to also briefly mention the little bit of scene that leads to this, which is Roland and Livia not wanting to run away together. The idea that Roland is going, right, this is our only way to be together, and Livia is saying, well, why don't you trust me? You know, what's the matter with money? You know, or rather, what is the use in money? It can't hug me, it can't love me, it can't kiss me like you can. And sort of immediately we understand in 2 pages of dialogue that she knows what he's after, that she's fine with that, and that she's got a plan as well. So, you know, thus far, all the women we've seen are kind of, have their heads screwed on, basically, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and I do love her line after Roland's exit, which is, alas, poor fool, how it looks. Lynn.
I've got him wrapped around my little finger. I think it'd be easy to mistake Livia for being pretty conventional. No, we mustn't run away together. That will just cause more trouble. And, oh, you're planning on holding out on your husband. That would be wrong of you. That would be disobedient. But she also has these lines that I think can be kind of ambiguous. Like, if you do this, other people are going to imitate you, and that would be a bad thing. And if you're on board with this too, we may as well all just put on breeches, and that would be a bad thing. maybe.
Yeah, yes, it's very, very much indeed like as Alexandra's saying, like the younger sister character in A Shrew, who's willful but has socially acceptable ways of getting what she wants. Eric.
I was going to mention a different place since we're, so we don't have, just two plays going. It's also a bit like, what do you call it? An Englishman for My Money, I think, an afternoon news play where we kind of had three sisters plotting to get married to the men they wanted rather than stinking strange foreigners, at least, in that play, according to the women involved, which was very sort of, I don't know, just the way they plotted that was kind of fun, but also kind of xenophobic. Whereas here you don't really have the xenophobia, which is kind of nice. Another thing I was going to mention was that in the first scene, we get basically the guys gossiping, and then we have the women gossiping and plotting and so on and so forth, which is kind of a bit realistic if you think about it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we do have people verbally moving the action forward and talking about each other, which I quite like. And they're all gossiping about marriage. This is definitely my big fat early modern wedding. And then Jaques comes in and he's like, so, is it time for you to go to my master's chamber? And Mariah's like, nope. And I wonder what Petruchio thinks of this. Any further thoughts before we go to the next scene? Alexandra.
Just one quick thought, which is exactly what you said. Oh, I wonder what Petruchio thinks about the whole thing. We've had a long setup. We've had 2 or 3 scenes so far in which this man has been mentioned and described before he comes in. So we've had such a preamble, such a build-up that as an audience, that's exactly where we should be. We should be going, I want to know exactly how, what the other side of this arrangement things, and also have that sense of, ooh, this is going to go so wrong. I can't look away.
Yes, absolutely. This is absolutely what you do to build up the entrance of the character who's presumably being played by your actor manager. It also lets the actor manager have an extra, maybe a half hour in the pub, which, if you're a playwright, that's probably a good way to get commissioned again. So Act 1, Scene 3. Enter servants with lights, Petruchio, Petronius, Moroso, Tranio, and Sophocles.
You that are married, gentlemen, have at ye for a round wager now.
Of this night's stage?
Yes.
I am your first man. A pair of gloves of 20 shillings.
Done. Who takes me up next? I'm for all best.
Well, lusty Lawrence, were but my knight now, old as I am, I would make you clap on spurs, but I would reach you and bring you to your trot too. I would gallant.
Well said, Goodwill. But where's the staff boy, huh? Old Father Time, your hourglass is empty.
I'm about to talk to myself.
A good tough train would break thee all to pieces. Thou hast not breath enough to say thy prayers.
See how these boys despise us. Will you to bed, son? This pride will have a fall.
Upon your daughter. But I shall rise again, if there be truth in eggs and buttered parsnips.
Will you to bed, son, and leave talking? Tomorrow morning we shall have you look, for all your great words, like St. George at Kingston, running a foot back from the furious dragon that with her angry tail belabors him for being lazy.
His courage quenched, and so far quenched.
'Tis well, sir. What then?
Fly, fly, quoth then the fearful dwarf. Here is no place for living man.
Well, my masters, if I do sink under my business, as I find 'tis very possible, I am not the first that has miscarried. So that's my comfort. What may be done without impeach or waste, I can and will do.
Enter Jaques.
How now? Is my fair bride abed?
No, truly, sir.
Not abed yet. Body of me, we'll up and rifle her. Here's a coil with a maiden head. 'Tis not entailed, is it?
If it be, I'll try all the law in the land, but I'll cut it off. Let's up, let's up. Come.
That you cannot neither.
Why?
Well, unless you'll drop through the chimney like a door or force a breach of the windows. You may untile the house. 'Tis possible.
What dost thou mean?
A moral, sir. The ballad will express it. The wind and the rain has turned you back again, and you cannot be lodged there. The truth is, all the doors are barricadoed. Not a cat hole but holds a murderer in it. She's victualled for this month.
Art not thou drunk?
He's drunk, he's drunk. Come, let's up!
Yes, I am drunk. You may go up, you may, gentlemen, but take heed to your heads, I say no more.
I'll try that.
Exit Sophocles.
How dost thou say? The door fast locked, fellow?
Yes, truly, sir, 'tis locked and guarded too, and two as desperate tongues planted behind it as e'er yet battered. These stand upon their honours, and will not give up without strange composition, I'll assure you, marching away with their pieces cocked and bullets in their mouths will not satisfy them.
How's this? How's this? They are. Is there another with her?
Yes, Mary is there, and an engineer.
Who's that, for heaven's sake?
Colonel Byancha, she commands the works. Spinola's but a ditcher to her, there's a half moon. I am but a poor man, but if you'll give me leave, I'll venture a year's wages, draw all your force before it, and mount your ablest piece of battery. You shall not enter these 3 nights yet.
Enter Sophocles.
I should laugh at that, good Jack.
Mm-hmm.
He's back again. She's fortified forever.
Am I drunk now, sir?
He that dares most, go up now and be cooled. I have escaped a pretty scouring.
What, are they mad? Have we another bedlam? They do not talk, I hope.
Oh, terribly, extremely fearful. The noise of London Bridge is nothing nearer.
How got she tongue?
As you got tail, she was born to it.
Locked out of doors, and on my wedding night? Nay, and I suffer this. I may go graze. Come, gentlemen, I'll batter. Are these virtues?
Do, and be beaten off with shame as I was. I went up, came to the door, knocked. Nobody answered. Knocked louder. Yet heard nothing. Would have broke in by force when suddenly a waterwork flew from the window with such violence that I ducked quickly like a friar. Cetera quis nescit. The chamber is nothing but a mere ostend. In every window pewter cannons mounted. You quickly find with what they are charged, sir.
Why then, Tantara for us.
And all the lower works lined sure with small shot, long tongues with firelocks, and a 12-score blank hit to the heart. Now and dare ye go up.
Enter Maria and Byancha above.
The window opens. Peter Parley first. I'm so much amazed, my very hair stands.
Why, how now, daughter? What, entrenched?
A little guarded for my safety, sir.
For your safety, sweetheart? Why, who offends you? I come not to use violence.
I think you cannot, sir. I am better fortified.
I know your end. You would fain reprieve your maidenhead a night or 2.
Yes, or 10, or 20, or say 100. Or indeed, till I list lie with you.
Oh, that's a shrewd saying. From this present hour, I will never believe a silent woman. When they break out, they are bonfires.
You list lie with him? Why, who are you, madam?
That trim gentleman's wife, sir.
Cry you mercy. Do you command too?
Yes, marry does she, and in chief.
I do command, and you shall go without, your wife, for this night.
And for the next 2, wench, and so as follows.
Thou wilt not, wilt thou?
Yes, indeed, dear father, until he's sealed to what I shall set down for anything I know forever.
For indeed, these are bug words.
You hear, sir, she can talk. God be thanked.
I would I heard it not, sir.
I find that all the pity bestowed upon this woman makes but an anagram of an ill wife, for she was never virtuous.
You'll let me in, I hope, for all this jesting.
Hope still, sir.
You will come down, I am sure.
I am sure I will not.
I'll fetch you then.
The power of the whole county cannot, sir, unless we please to yield, which yet I think we shall not. Charge when you please, you shall hear quickly from us.
Bless me from a chicken of thy hatching is this wiving.
Prithee, Maria, tell me what's the reason, and do it freely. You deal thus strangely with me. You were not forced to marry. Your consent went equally with mine, if not before it. I hope you do not doubt I want that metal a man should have to keep a woman waking. I would be sorry to be such a saint, yet. My person as it is not excellent, so 'tis not old, nor lame, nor weak with physic, but well enough to please an honest woman, that keeps her house and loves her husband.
Is so?
My means and my conditions are no shamers of him that owes them, and all the world knows that, and my friends no reliers on my fortunes.
All this I believe, and none of all these parcels I dare except against. Nay, more, so far as I am from making these ends I aim at, these idle outward things, these women's fears, that were I yet unmarried, free to choose through all the tribes of man, I'll take Petruchio in his shirt, with 10 groats to pay the priest, before the best man living, or the ablest, that e'er leaped out of Lancashire, and they are right ones.
Why do you play the fool then, and stand prating out of the windows like a broken miller?
If you will have me credit you, Maria, come down, and let your love confirm it.
Stay there, sir, that bargain's yet to make.
Stay sure, wench, the pack's in thine own hand. Let me die lousy if these 2 wenches be not brewing knavery to stalk a kingdom.
Why, this is a riddle. I love you, and I love you not.
It is so. Until your own experience do untie it, this distance I must keep.
If you talk more, I am angry, very angry.
I'm glad on't, and I will talk.
Prithee, peace. Let me not go think thou art mad. I tell thee, woman, if thou goest forward, I'm still Petruchio.
And I am worse, a woman that can fear neither Petruchio furious, nor his fame, nor anything that tends to our allegiance. There's a short method for you. Now you know me.
If you can carry it so, 'tis very well.
No, you shall carry it, sir.
Peace, gentle Lobel.
Use no more words. Come down instantly, I charge thee, by the duty of a child.
Prithee, come, Maria. I forgive all.
Stay there. That duty that you charge me by, if you consider truly what you say, is now another man's. You gave it away in the church, if you remember, to my husband. So all you can exact now is no more, but only a due reverence to your person, which thus I pay. Your blessing, and I'm gone to bed for this night.
This is monstrous. That blessing that St. Dunstan gave the devil, if I were near to thee, I would give thee, pull thee down by the nose.
Saints should not rave, sir. Little rhubarb now were excellent.
Then, by that duty you owe to me, Maria, open the door and be obedient. I am quiet yet.
I do confess that duty. Make your best on't.
Why, give me leave, I will.
Sir, there's no learning an old stiff jade to trot. You know the moral.
Yet, as I take it, sir, I owe no more than you owe back again.
You will not article. All I owe presently, let me but up, I'll pay.
You're too hot, and such crude jades at length. You do confess a duty, or respect from me to me from you again. That's very near, or full the same with mine.
Yes.
Then, by that duty or respect, or what you please to have it, go to bed and leave me, and trouble me no longer with your fooling. For no, I am not for you.
Well, what remedy?
A fine smart cudgel? Oh, that I were near thee.
Oh, if you had teeth now, what a case were we in?
These are the most authentic rebels next Tyrone I ever read of.
A week hence, or a fortnight as you bear you, as I find my will observed, I may, with intercession of some friends, be brought, maybe, to kiss you, and so quarterly to pay a little rent by composition. You understand me?
Thou boy, thou!
Well, there are more maids than maudlin, that's my comfort.
Yes, and more men than Michael.
I must not to bed with this stomach, and no meat, lady.
Feed where you will, so it be sound and wholesome, else live at livery, for I'll none with you.
You had best back one of the dairy maids, they'll carry. But take heed to your girths, you'll get a bruise else.
Now, if thou wouldst come down and tender me all the delights due to a marriage bed, study such kisses as would melt a man, and turn thyself into 1,000 figures, to add new flames unto me, I would stand thus heavy, thus regardless, thus despising thee, and thy best allurings, all the beauty that's laid upon your bodies. Mark me well, for without doubt your minds are miserable. You have no masks for them. All this rare beauty lay but the painter and the silkworm by, the doctor with his diets and the tailor, and you appear like flea'd cats, not so handsome.
And we appear like her that sent us hither, that only excellent and beauteous nature, truly ourselves for men to wonder at, but too divine to handle. We are gold, in our own natures pure, but when we suffer, the husbands stamp upon us, then allays, and base ones of you men are mingled with us, and make us blush like copper.
Then, and never, till then are women to be spoken of, for till that time you have no souls, I take it. Good night. Come, gentlemen, I'll fast for this night, but by this hand, well, I shall come up yet.
No.
There will I watch thee like a withered jury. Thou shalt neither have meat, fire, nor candle, nor anything that's easy. Do you rebel so soon? Yet take mercy.
Put up your pipes. To bed, sir. I'll assure you a month's siege will not shake us.
Well said, Colonel.
To bed, Petruchio. Good night, gentlemen. You'll make my father sick with sitting up. Here you shall find us any time these 10 days, unless we may march off with our contentment.
I'll hang first.
And I'll quarter if I do not. I'll make you know and fear a wife, Petruchio. There my cause lies. You have been famous for a woman tamer, and bear the feared name of a brave wife breaker. A woman now shall take those honours off and tame you, Nay, never look so big. She shall, believe me, and I am she. What think ye? Good night to all. You shall find sentinels.
If ye dare sally.
Exeunt above.
The devil's in him. Even the very devil, the downright devil.
I'll devil 'em. By these 10 bones I will. I'll bring it to the old proverb, no sport, no pie. Taken down at the top of all my speed. This is fine dancing. Gentlemen, stick to me. You see our freeholds touched, and by this light we will beleaguer them, and either starve them out or make them recreant.
I'll see all passages stop but those about him. If these good women of the town dare succor him, we shall have wars indeed.
I'll stand perdue upon him.
My regiment shall lie before.
I think so. 'Tis grown too old to stand.
Let's in, and each provide his tackle. We'll fire 'em out, or make 'em take their pardons. Hear what I say on their bare knees. Am I Petruchio, feared and spoken of? And on my wedding night am I thus jaded?
Exeunt omnes. Whoo boy, what a scene. Discussion break. So here's the big set piece, and I think Fletcher has carried it off. What do you think? Elizabeth, our brave Petruchio.
I think Petruchio has a little bit of Gollum in him, because he kind of seems to be so split in half. At one sense, he's like, you must come out, you must come down and open the door. And he says, oh, but please love me. He has this kind of like double standard to him that is not quite believable as a forthright husband. You don't quite believe he will attack them and he will bring them down. He has to wait till he can persuade them somehow, or that they decide on their own to come down.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, because it's sort of, on his wedding day, it's sort of there's this change in status from being from a woman being a fiancée to be wooed, to then being a wife who owes her husband duty and obedience, in early modern terms. Yeah. So he tries to entreat her, and then he tries to compel her, neither really works, because she's forewarned and forearmed. And just this stage picture of the women being above and the men being below, in the same bits of the theater that would be used to, for example, stage the defense of a fortified town. So it's the same picture, and a lot of military, a lot of martial metaphors, a lot of guns, a lot of siege weaponry, terminology. Elizabeth.
I thought it was. Sorry, Lynn.
No, that's fine.
I just thought it was very raunchy. It was very raunchy, like some of the euphemisms that were being used about and then there was a section earlier about the goddess Hymen and stuff as well. I thought that it was very raunchy.
Oh yeah, I mean, Lynn.
Yeah, and it was like it's super raunchy, and I'm guessing everybody caught it, that they've got. They're like dumping chamber pots on the guys' heads when they try to come up. It's pretty, it's pretty, low humor, bodily function humor. But I was just going to respond to Liza's insight that the stage, the enter above is often a stage picture with people in a fortified town being besieged. That hadn't occurred to me, but it's quite true. The other thing is the woman above and the man below is also a stage picture of courtship, We see that in more than one early modern play. The woman enters above, and the man woos her from, or has musicians or whatever. So that sort of equivalence of love and war is all over this.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric.
Well, yeah, also in An Englishman for My Money, or I can't remember, For His Money. I can't remember the full title, which is very bad. It's a long title. And
I think you're right, An Englishman for My Money.
And we've got that scene with the sort of the women plotting to leave a Dutchman in the basket, which is not a euphemism, it's a literal basket for those who were there. And they leave him there all night or something. And they have to, well, they debate, the clown sort of wants them to cut him down, which is hilarious. It's just irrelevant, but it's hilarious.
This does seem like the kind of play where someone would get in a basket at some stage. Whether we see that or not, I suppose we'll find out. Alexandra.
I wanted to return to my point from earlier about we've had so much introduction to Petruchio, and now at last we meet him, and he's not terrible. So which is I think on purpose and actually really nice, because as an audience, if you've had this setup that this man is a monster, you're going to automatically want him to be put down, put in his place, whatever it is, as the plot that you've heard set up. Whereas when we actually get introduced to him and have him betting with the other men, like, that's not a very virtuous thing to be doing, but it's and using bawdy talk, they're the sort of things that an Elizabethan audience would not consider, horrible. And then, he's told to go. Well, he's encouraged to go to his wife. He's then told she's not ready to let him in. He tries to reason with her. It's almost, as an audience, I think it gives us that. Almost that feeling that we want to support him, because this feels unfair, and then when he explodes and as you said, Elizabeth kind of shifts to the other side of Gollum, it's that is also it can be both a surprise to us as an audience and also a tug in the opposite direction as to whom we're supporting, in a way. So we've been led to support on one side, and then we're pulled onto the other side, and then we're pulled back to and so on, which I think is really cleverly constructed. You're not necessarily expected to go, if you're a man in the audience, you want to side with the men. If you're a woman in the audience, you want to side with the women. This is, the war of the sexes. This is more complicated than that, which I think is really nice to see. Also, one really quick point, we didn't actually discuss this, but the setup is that Petruchio has been married before to a wife that shall remain nameless, who treated him very badly, not treated him very badly, kind of fought back against him and led him to become this explosive, horrendous, controlling person that's been described before.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
You're right that we're told that. Blaming the wife is kind of I suppose it's an early modern thing. Anyway, sorry, Alexandra, do go on, and then Eric.
So we've had that set up, and, in case you audience didn't watch the previous play or didn't get the previous hints, Mariah really spells it out now at the end. You've become famous as a wife tamer and woman breaker, and I'm going to do the reverse to you. It's almost spelling out the setup of the plot now.
Yes, and before that, when he starts to get angry at being denied, he says, after all his attempts to persuade her have fallen flat, he says, "Remember, I'm still Petruchio," and that's a threat. He uses his name and his selfhood as a threat at that point. Eric, sorry.
No, I was just going to mention something much more modern, which is actually Venus in Furs. which is a very strange reference. Not the film, but the actual book, which basically starts off with Grigor, who's the main character or something. I can't remember his full name. Going, yes, women are meant to be tamed, and then you get the full backstory, which is basically the opposite. So yeah.
Yes, and your Venus in Furs reference does remind me of this one extraordinary moment in which Petruchio says, after being frustrated for a while, he says, well, if you were to come down and woo me, I would reject you, because without makeup and fine silks, you're really ugly. There's this, he talks about the nude female body as like flea'd cats, not so handsome. And then Maria turns that around and says, and we appear like her that sent us hither, that only excellent and beauteous nature, truly ourselves, for men to wonder at, but too divine to handle. We are gold in our own natures pure. But when we suffer the husband's stamp upon us, then allays, in modern English, alloys, and base ones of you men are mingled with us and make us blush like copper. So this thing of, as long as she can remain untouched, she thinks of herself as pure. Incidentally, if you were looking if you were mining this play for veins of queerness, that is a rich vein indeed. Anyway, any more thoughts from the room? On and on with Act 1, Scene 4, in which, Alexandra, am I correct that you would like me to take over Jaques in this scene?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because there's an overlap otherwise.
Jaques has undergone a facelift and will, for this scene, be me. Scene 4, enter Roland and Pedro at several doors. Roland and Pedro, go.
Now, Pedro.
Very busy, Master Roland.
What haste, man?
I beseech you, pardon me. I'm not thine own man.
Thou art not mad.
No, but believe me, as hasty.
The cause, good Pedro.
There be 1,000, sir. You are not married?
Not yet.
Keep yourself quiet, then.
Why?
You'll find a fiddle that never will be tuned else from all women.
Exit,
What?
Pedro.
What ails the fellow trow? Jaques.
Your friend, sir, but very full of business.
Nothing but business. Prithee, the reason, is there any dying?
I would there were, sir.
But thy business?
I'll tell you in a word, I am sent to lay an imposition upon souse and puddings, pasties and penny custards, that the women may not relieve yon rebels. Very well, sir.
How does my mistress?
Like a resty jade, she's spoilt for riding. Exit, Jaques.
What the devil ail they?
Enter Sophocles.
Custards and penny pasties, fools and fiddles. What's this to the purpose? Oh, well met.
Now, Roland, I cannot stay to talk long.
What's the matter? Here's stirring, but to what end? Whither go you?
To view the works.
What works?
The women's trenches.
Trenches are such to see.
I do not jest, sir.
I cannot understand you.
Do you not hear in what a state of quarrel the new bride stands with her husband?
Let him stand with her, and there's an end.
It should be, but by Our Lady she holds him out at Pike's End and defies him, and is now fortified. Such a regiment of rotters never defied men braver. I am sent to view their preparation.
This is news stranger than arms in the air. You saw not my gentle mistress?
Yes, and meditating upon some secret business. When she had found it, she leapt for joy and laughed, and straight retired to shun Moroso.
This may be for me.
Will you along?
No.
Farewell.
Farewell, sir.
Exit Sophocles.
Farewell, sir. What should her musings mean? And what her joy in it, if not for my advantage? Stay here. May not that bobtail jade Moroso, with his gold, his gewgaws, and the hope she has to send him quickly to dust, excite this?
Enter Livia at one door and Moroso at another, hearkening.
Here she comes, and yonder walks the stallion to discover. Yet I'll salute her. Save your beauteous mistress.
The fox is kennelled for me. Save you, sir.
Why do you look so strange?
I used to look, sir, without examination. That's got to be Moroso, not Maria.
Yeah.
20 spur royals for that word.
Belike, then, the object discontents you?
Yes, it does.
Just come to this. You know me, do you not?
Yes, as I may know many by repentance.
What do you break your face?
I'll tell you that, too. You are underage, and no bands hold upon you.
Excellent wench.
Sue out of your understanding and get more hair to cover your bare knuckle, for boys were made for nothing but dry kisses. And if you can, more manners.
Better still.
And then if I want Spanish gloves or stockings or a 10-pound waistcoat or a nag to hunt on, it may be I shall grace you to accept them.
Farewell. And when I credit women more, may I to Smithfield, and there buy a jade, and know him to be so, that breaks my neck.
Because I have known you, I'll be thus kind to you. Farewell, and be a man, and I'll provide you, because I see you are desperate, some staid chambermaid that may relieve your youth with wholesome doctrine.
She's mine from all the world, hot wench.
Hot chicken.
Gives him a box on the ear and exits.
I do not love these favors. Save you.
Devil take thee!
Rings him by the nose.
There's a love token for you. Thank me now.
Come summer ye, and if I live my nose alone shall not be played withal.
Woo! And on that bombshell, we end Act 1 and end today's exploring session, but for a post-show discussion. So there's some violence here at the end, which was really all we were missing. We've had verbal warfare, now we've got some physical comedy. Moroso overhears Livia spurning Roland and thinks, aha, that means she wants to marry me. And he, presumably when he says, ha, wench, he steps out of hiding and says, hello, when she says, hi. And then Roland sees Moroso and gives, and noinks his nose for him. And I quite love Moroso's last line, which is rather splendid, as splendidly rendered by Eric. I'll think on some of ye, and if I live, my nose alone shall not be played withal. Really, Moroso, really. So we see that the defiance of suitors of male suitors by women has spread from the main plot to the subplot. Yeah,
I'm not really sure what Livia's at. You know, what. So she seems to want Moroso to think she's rejecting her young suitor, but then when he tries to confirm that by, coming on to her or whatever, she's like, no, not you either. So I'm not really. Maybe we'll find out more later what her motivations are, but I find this a little confusing.
Alexandra.
I think that might be explained by the fact that the stage picture is enter Livia at one door and Moroso at another, hearkening, listening. So it might be that she doesn't actually know he's there and she's not doing it for him. She's picked up, where earlier she was trying to be the reasonable party, she's picked up this idea of, actually, we don't need courtship and we don't, let us, from that conversation between the three women, let us all reject the men. She's doing exactly that. She's rejecting a suitor. The other suitor assumes it's because of himself, in the same way as the first suitor assumed she had a great idea and suddenly started smiling, as she's described, because of himself. They both of the men think, oh, she wants to be mine, and actually she doesn't want to be anybody's. Which is, bold move.
Yeah, Aliki.
I'm not sure that she doesn't want to be anybody's. I want to see how this plot plays out. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the dramaturgy of this scene, because it's such a delight, with Roland standing there on the stage by himself and one person rushing past him and then another person rushing past him and then two people come at him and then he goes. It's just lovely.
Yes, Eric.
Well, also, kind of basically, he's the only unmarried character thus far as we can tell, except maybe Jaques. And he's the whole business and movement of the whole thing is you're not married, so you can't possibly have an opinion on this. It's just fun.
Yes, and we get little bits of exposition, we're not clear what Pedro has been sent to do, but Jaques has been sent to keep anyone from delivering food to the ladies who are ensconced upstairs, which is what you do in siege warfare. You cut off the lines of supply to the besieged town. Lynn.
But they're victualled for a month, so they're ready to, the women in the bedchamber, in the marriage bed, are according to Sophocles, I think, ready to hold out for 4 weeks or more, just emptying their chamber pots out the window and drinking ale and eating bread. I don't know.
Yeah, we do have that. So I guess he's I guess Jaques is a little bit late then. Again, that's a classic, as you say, that's a classic besieger error, is to let your enemy supply themselves before you cut off the lines of supply. And then Sophocles carries on the martial metaphor, saying, I've come to view the works. What works? The women's trenches. Trenches are such to see. So, we've had all these martial metaphors. We've had the phallic metaphors of guns and pikes, which the women have and the men do not, it seems. And now we've got trenches. Yeah. Eric, was that a hand?
Well, also you've got the musical ones, which are the fiddle and the bow, and I'm like, no, just don't ruin the musical instruments for us. But
yeah, we had a musical metaphor in scene 1. I think Sophocles was implying that Moroso was impotent, saying, oh, she doesn't like an old fiddle played without a bow, does she? I think that was what that was about.
I think so too. And we've had another fiddle and bow reference that seems to be the same thing.
Yes, but then we also have Pedro seems to, with his "you'll find a fiddle that never will be tuned else," seems to be using a different metaphor and using the fiddle as a metaphor for the body of a woman who cannot be brought into tune by a man. No harmony. We're Schoenberg fans here. It's all very atonal. Lynn.
No, what was as far as the fiddle and the bow, I was going to say, this is one where basically the rule of thumb is, if it could be interpreted as filthy, go ahead and assume that's what's going on. Because, the bodily function stuff, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I've got friends who study embodiment as either of the actor or the character as a metaphor, and this play has it is very, very physical. There's lots of metaphors for body parts. There's the flea'd cats discussion of bodies and whether they're attractive or what they're worth, or what are we striving for anyway? Is sex all that great? Who can say? Anyway, I'm sure I certainly saw a hand. Alexandra, was the hand I saw yours?
Yes, I think it was, we were talking about just bawdy dialogue, and I wanted to point out a moment that I found extraordinary, where Livia, who in the previous scene with Roland has kind of hinted towards sexual activity and then eventually basically said, "This is what you're after, isn't it?" "Yes, it is." "Okay, well, then I'll give you that if that's what you want." She, at the end of this scene, having rejected Roland for a variety of reasons, says to him, "Because I see you're desperate, I'll send you some staid chambermaid to relieve your youth." Which is just, I found that extraordinary as a line, and I wanted to point it out.
Yeah, and we had some of that before too, where Petruchio was fuming and being furious, and Maria suggested that he relieve his lusts upon the dairymaid, which I don't know, that to me, that strikes a sour note, that these women are willing to use other women as proxies, that they're willing to exercise their own right to refuse, but they are not going to fight for, metaphorically at least, for everyone else's. I'm sure a dairymaid could probably whack him on the head with a cheese paddle or something. Anyway, Aliki.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that one. I kind of convinced myself she meant ride a dairy cow instead of a horse because of all that girth business. But I could be wrong and trying to give her too much credit. I just also want to point out that while we often have young women complaining of being married off to older men, and certainly that's one of the subplots going on here, you almost never hear a young man told to go and find him a staid middle-aged woman to show him the errors of his ways.
Yes, I wondered if the chambermaid were meant to relieve him sexually or simply give him a good talking to. Eric.
I was going to say yes, but we have the insatiate countess, which obviously did not end very well. I mean, yeah, that was a terrible ending to that play, which was kind of going off on this very sort of older woman wants young men, and then ends up being hanged for it. Well, I mean, for various things, obviously, because, a woman cannot have a sexual drive in this time, in this day and age.
Oh, no, that's actually not... We tend to think that because the 19th century intervenes between us and them, but women were seen as desiring, and that was dangerous. And as a matter of fact, they were it was considered a problem because what they did believe was that women were less rational, that they were more feelers than thinkers, as we would say now, so they couldn't use their powers of rationality to manage their own desires. That's why you had to marry them off so that they could have a legal outlet. But yeah, women were definitely in the early modern period, in the Middle Ages, they were definitely seen as desiring subjects, as women who had, as beings that had drives.
Yes, definitely. And in fact, this rather puts me in mind of another Livia, she from Women Beware Women, who takes up with young Leontio after Byancha becomes the mistress of the Duke. So there we have another example of an older woman in a position of power taking on a young stud. And we all know how well that works out for them. So Alexandra.
Yes, I think that's kind of what Lynn was saying earlier is a bit sort of, what Eric was saying earlier is a bit kind of the point. It's not that they're not people with feelings and desires. It's that the perspective is they shouldn't be allowed to kind of manage that themselves, that a woman shouldn't be in charge of her own sexual appetite, basically, because she can't be trusted. And so the fact that in this particular play, what we're getting is not just the Lysistrata ploy or the I guess the virtuous virgin perspective in that way, but also this idea of they can be bawdy too. They can kind of know and understand and want the same things as the men. They just at this particular point in the story, we're still in Act 1, they've just decided not to have any of the sex. And in the case of Livia, the marriage and the kind of duties that come with that.
Yes, indeed. Eric.
Yeah, no, I'm trying not to think of all the plays that we've done that do have women that have sex drives that actually do manage to there was, I think, Maidenhead Well Lost, where one of the characters is kind of, all these are on our YouTube, I hope, probably not the podcast. Anyway, where a woman falls in love and tries to pursue her love, but obviously it's a different situation because of the stations are different, but also there was Humor Out of Breath, which is kind of funny and has sort of there's bondage, but that's not part of the plot, that's just fun. And Lynn's expression there was hilarious. There was this whole thing of like the women telling the guys that they don't know how to flirt, because they're completely they were completely sort of useless at it, except for one of the main protagonists who actually was sticking to his ideals of honor and sort of respecting women, basically. So I guess this kind of non-stereotype exists as well.
Yeah, and Lynn.
Yeah, so sort of bouncing off what Alexandra was saying is like, women have these desires, but they shouldn't. But that's very suspect, and there's obviously a lot of anxiety about that that we see in literature, and I think we probably see in prose writing, and they have to be obedient to their husbands, and they have to be obedient to their fathers before that, and so forth. But in comedy, as Eric was observing, it's often the ingenue who gets what she wants. The resolution of a comedy is, from Menander's time, is the young couple who are mutually attracted to each other get to have that relationship, and society's barriers are torn down, and that's and a new society is founded on this. There's a sort of renewal. So we get a little bit of a mixed message from the period that yes, women's desire is dangerous and it's suspect, but in comedy, it's always satisfied. But that's kind of the job of comedy, is to take these areas of conflict and tension and show us a satisfactory resolution. Comedy is healing, and comedy is brings society together. That's its job, is to show us how these points of tension can work out in ways that are healthy and sustainable.
Yeah, Alexandra.
Yes, and I think everything Lynn said, as well as reality was probably different to our assumption of reality. There are people who, just as nowadays, there are people who marry for love, and there are people who marry for other reasons, and there are people who choose not to marry, and there are people who can't, and so on and so forth. And the interpersonal relationships that we see portrayed in theatre are not necessarily representative of the period as a whole. But I think what's quite, I guess, extraordinary is, or I'm finding extraordinary in comparison to other plays, rather than considering with respect to reality, is that there's a lot of body talk and a lot of kind of implication of power struggles, but in the actual interactions, it feels relatively egalitarian. The conversation that Petruchio and Mariah have, where he says, "Look, you were just as willing as I was to get married. You know, nobody forced you. Nobody, you know, this was not something unequal. This was, we both agreed." And she actually responds, "Yes, and to be fair, like if I were given the choice of men to marry, I would still choose this one. But I'm making a point here." So yes, I think there's something, again, with respect to other plays that we have seen and to the ways in which women are portrayed as well as women being treated in the sort of in that marital sphere. I think this does two things really nicely. One, it gives them a lot to say, and it gives them, you know, they're not flat characters. They're people. They are human. All humans are human, and some of them have wounds. You know, they are people who think for themselves and who want things and who can actually mount this entire operation. And at the same time, we don't see a setup of two scenes before that where this is a terribly oppressive society and these women are abused, or there is an expectation that that is what's going to happen unless the plot gets set into motion.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that we don't get a rigidly hierarchical world set up. What we in this one, at least, what we do get in this climactic scene, in Act 1, Scene 3, the climactic scene, the besiegement, as it were, what we do get is both Maria's father and husband invoking the two types of patriarchal duty she has, saying, you know, "Oh, by your duty to me, you should come down. Oh, but you resigned your duty to me in the church. Now my husband has that duty. Well, by your duty to me, come down. Nuh-uh, because you have duties toward me first." So it is those, in the view of some in the early modern era, those were ties that basically held the world together and kept it from devolving into chaos. And Maria is giving the ultimate answer, which is, "Can't make me." Eric?
Yeah, I was going to say, basically, they're kind of claiming, like, you know, you were my property, therefore you kind of should behave in that way, in the way I, you know, sort of tell you to. But then, you know, because you're a child and then you're a wife and then you die, apparently, which is not a great outlook. But I mean, it kind of, it's kind of sweet that she does go, you know, even if, you know, we were the last people on earth, I would still marry you, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, it's just an interesting play this far. Yeah,
it really is, and it does have me, the dramatist has done his work. He does have me hooked. I care what happens next, and in the join us for the next 2 installments of this play. If they are not now available now while you're watching this, they will, as they do not now exist when I'm talking about this, but perhaps by the time you watch this, they will. It will all be available on our YouTube channel. So because we've already had an extensive conversation, I'm not necessarily going to ask for final thoughts, but what I would like to do is go around the room and for everyone to give me 3 words that this play has made them think of. And the fickle finger of fate lands on Alexandra. First of all, what are your 3 words?
Really well structured.
Alan, 3 words from you.
Interesting sequel.
Those are 2 words. Okay, Eric.
Yeah, I think I've said all the words. Curiously amusing. No, that's fine.
That curiously amusing. That'll be quoted on the marquee of the theater. Aliki.
Flying chamber pots.
And Lynn.
Yeah, poop, pee, and sex.
Make the world go round. Elizabeth.
Kinky, raunchy, and interesting.
I think that's a very good summary. Alexandra?
Please, 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 may I have 3 other words? I want to also mention the brilliant one-liners.
Yeah.
Brilliant one-liners. Indeed, indeed. And I guess my 3 words would be, what happens next? So join us for the next installments of this play. We may not fully satisfy, but we strive to amuse. Until next week, that is Beyond Shakespeare. Thank you for our excellent team of readers. Same bat time, same bat channel, and farewell.